to go from Durham in what is the 11th all-time meeting between these two programs. It's great to have you with us from Koskinen Stadium in Durham. High Point with the opening attack. This is a High Point team that really wants an Overbeek, who had 19 goals a season ago for High Point. Puts the Panthers on the board first here this season. And the Blue Devils playing from behind here in the opening period. Take the Blue Devils long to respond.
And you know, that makes for a good game. You know, right now, this is going to be a punch kind of contest.
And a good early season litmus test for both of these teams. You know, Coach Danowski telling us that High Point was able to sort of prepare all preseason to face the Blue Devils in their season opener, and a High Point team that's playing in a new 10 assists a season ago, and he's on the board here tonight and gives the Blue Devils a 1-goal lead.
Yeah, he's one of these guys who's tremendously strong in the weight room and has a very low center of gravity. He's a sort of a defenseman's nightmare because he's really hard to get off of his feet, and he's a really great quick dodger.
What have you seen out of High Point so far early in the match that you've liked?
You know, I think, you know, there's only
100% in 8 of his 17 games, and only shot below 500 in a game 3 times.
He's incredible. As a Canadian, he can shoot from anywhere, and you could see. So he can basically receive a feed and put it almost anywhere, and he's used to shooting in tight spaces. I remember him freshman year. I think he's one of the only freshmen to ever have 10 goals.
Blue Devils quickly right off the draw get another one. We talked about not letting Duke go on a run. The Blue Devils are on a run now. That's 4 in a row for the Blue Devils.
Yeah, Jake loves these goals because as a Fogo, he's he gets a limited amount of opportunities on offense to take shots, and he made the most of it. Coming around, no one picked him up. I don't think it was a blown coverage off of the original face-off. That happens sometimes. You know, they're paying attention to the big guns, and then all of a sudden your Fogo's right sitting on the crease, and you pass to him. There you go.
First of the season for Jake Naso. Had won 484 career face-offs coming into play tonight. High Point gets the possession. And you sort of feel like for the Panthers, they got to get something going on offense here, don't they?
Yeah. The problem is shovel shot.
Ippolito, who was 4th on the team in goals a season ago for High Point. You see his 15 games, his 17 goals, his first of the season. And it kind of shows you the complete player that Braden Maea is. You know, he can score, he can facilitate. We talked about it, 49 points a season ago.
Yeah, he's one of the more creative players you're going to watch play the game. So keep an eye on him as
And a timeout for High Point here. 5:11 to go in the first quarter, and Coach Torpy maybe not liking the way that one was starting to draw it up. High Point last season had a phenomenal campaign. Extra man opportunities, they were 2 for 4 on Saturday. But you made a good point before we came on the air tonight. As Duke gets later into the season, they've got to execute on these extra man opportunities when they count.
Yeah, it's like slugging percentage in baseball, or, you know, having a batting average with men on base. You know, you want to make sure that as you get into the April, May, you're talking about having that percentage stick with a UVA or a
hat trick for Williams.
I'm sure he'll forgive you.
Had 4 goals on Saturday, and he's 1 goal away from a 4th tonight. And that'll carry us to the end of the first quarter. A couple of big runs.
Not all the time, but when he needs to, he delivers.
Let's look at this from a High Point standpoint now. Down 6-3, you start the second quarter. If you're Coach Torpy, what was the message to your team going into the second quarter?
Honestly, I think it's, you know, the idea that we made some mistakes, but we're where we want to be, and that if you're 8 yards out of the crease and McAdory's there one-on-one with the goal, he's usually going to get it.
McAdory had 39 points for the Blue Devils in his rookie campaign last year, most by a Duke freshman midfielder in program history. And he's continuing his torrid start this year.
He's got the ball now.
And defensively.
Yeah, I think, you know, the thing is, and we sort of talked a little bit about this.
Duke off the face-off again, and another one for the Blue Devils.
Jake Naso, 2nd goal today, I believe, right?
It is indeed.
Excellent job for the face-off man from Duke.
Right off the draw twice, Naso, the junior, with 2 for Duke. And a 9-3 Blue Devil lead. First career multi-goal game for Jake Naso. And really, they're coming from everywhere for the Blue Devils, a team that maybe last year didn't get this kind of production all season long.
Yeah, I think last year was an interesting thing because there were a number of first halves where things stalled. And against sometimes teams that, were supposed to be, not necessarily, understands where the double teams are coming from. He's distributing as well, so he's super dangerous anywhere.
And Coach Danowski said he probably could have had 10 assists on Saturday. That's how well he and the offense were playing in that 19-7 win. And now O'Neal
at every position on the field, 110 yards.
And again, right off the face-off, the Blue Devils, who have been proficient in the face-off already this season, turn it over. You've already seen Naso score a couple of times off the face-off tonight, but a turnover there for Duke.
In limited spaces, and you got to be super quick reactions, and that's what he has.
8-0 scoring run for the Blue Devils. Duke tries to make it 9-0, and they do with Magadori. A flag down as well, but it right now for the Blue Devils a 10-goal lead, and Duke clicking on all cylinders. A hat trick now for Magadori, and we take another look.
Yeah, right off, quick offense off the draw. Beautiful. It's a 4-on-3 fast break classic, and take the shot if you got it. Especially if they having just scored, at that point you're just like, let it rip. The goalie's probably still thinking about the last shot, so, let it fly, and that's what just happened.
And the foul there against High Point will go on Grant Amen for a hit to the head. So the Blue Devils man up for 1 minute here, already leading by 10, and for High Point, just can't seem to catch a break right now. And the Blue Devils will spin their first time out.
You're the two greatest coaches of all time by many statistics, and that's just a fun game to watch because they're really just are in the pantheon of amazing coaches.
Duke a man up.
Yeah, he watch this pass if this cues up again. I'm not sure, but one of the things about that goal that was great was that that pass was just a threaded needle by Magadori. And again, he's only trying that because he has the confidence that Dyson will be able to catch it and shoot.
Under a minute to go, first half. Schelling, by the way, had the assist on the previous goal for Duke. 54 seconds to
that mathematical advantage where you have a 2-on-1 and then eventually a one on goalie. So it's kind of situation where you can get your guys who have quick shots in the zone work really well. You got to get them the ball though.
First tally of the game for Balsamo, third goal of the season. One of the things Coach Danowski told us in our conversation this week is Duke looks for another win off of the face-off. They've had 2 goals off that tonight. So this is going to be an interesting test for the Blue Devils in terms of their mentality, how mature this team is, having to play Saturday and turn around and play again just a couple of days later. Yeah, kind of equate.
It's a beautiful shot.
Duke trying to control here. High Point picks it up.
Bit of a scrum right now.
Almost like a rugby scrum. And the possession for High Point.
His angle's improving as he moves across the cage, and it's just so impossible for a goalie to try to get his eyes on it because he brings the stick way back, and you really don't know where the ball is, and his release is so thunderous.
And the crazy thing for O'Neal, and you touched on,
there really was no backup, so that was just a straight one-on-one. A little bit of a left to right power dodge, and then no slide. So
Cook had a great high school career at Mainland Regional High School, where he has the most goals in a single season in program history. The Linwood, New Jersey native, with his first tally this year for the Panthers. And Duke just trying to play out the last 5 seconds of the third quarter. Nice save.
And then we were able to limit them after that to 1 goal in the fourth quarter. You know, that kind of lockdown are the ones that win championships.
Were you able to see any of that kind of effort from Duke so far tonight?
Yeah, in the first quarter. You know, we try to always make sure that, you know, defenders are trying to, you know, be on the hands and try to make sure that you're getting those checks so that it's very hard for them to pull the trigger.
We're talking about McAdory and the ground that he was covering, David. Duke uses these catapult devices, which measures different.
Just an absolute specimen in terms of his strength. So he can get that ball, even off balance, going so fast where he wants it.
Andrew Bonafide will check in now to play goal for the Blue Devils. The graduate student from Bayshore, New York, made a save in the win over Bellarmine on Saturday. 11 games last year. Allowed a couple of goals to Bellarmine earlier this season, and now Duke on the attack again. It's guess who? Dyson Williams to match February of 2020.
I remember that game well.
Final 10 minutes here, all Blue Devils. Duke
play when they needed to, and that's actually a difference between the early season of last year and this year. I mean, this is a really good effort, and I think that, you know, Coach Torpy, when he said this week, when metaphorically he said Duke was playing with anger against Bellarmine, actually just really, you know, put the defender in a position where he almost had to push him into the crease.
You mentioned the Canadian style a couple of times tonight. Maybe for the casual viewer at home, what's the biggest difference in the way the game is played in Canada versus here in the States?
Well, the Canadians also, they play box, so a crossbar, and so it's an interesting thing, because if you're shooting, you can put a little English on that, and it's very hard for the goalie when it's a little bit moist on the field to see and stop.
Saw that a moment ago. First goal in 10 games.